Welcome to my channel, ladies and gentlemen. Listen carefully. Most people believe discipline is something you either have or you don't. They look at highly successful individuals and assume they were born with stronger willpower, better focus, or some kind of natural advantage. But that belief is not only incorrect, it's dangerous because it gives you an excuse to stay where you are. The truth is far more empowering. Discipline is a skill, and like any skill, it can be learned, trained, and strengthened over time. Think about any ability you admire, whether it's playing an instrument, learning a language, or building physical strength. No one starts as an expert. Progress comes through repetition, patience, and consistent effort. Discipline works the same way. It is not a fixed trait. It is a process of training yourself to act with intention, even when it's uncomfortable. In the beginning, discipline feels difficult. You'll face resistance from your own mind. You'll feel the urge to delay, to avoid, to choose what's easy instead of what's right. This is completely normal. Just like a muscle feels weak the first time you use it, your discipline is underdeveloped at first. But every time you choose action over comfort, you are strengthening it. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, no matter how small, you are building trust with yourself. And that trust is powerful. Because once you begin to trust your own actions, your confidence starts to grow. You no longer rely on how you feel in the moment. You rely on the system you've built. That's when discipline begins to shift from something forced to something natural. The mistake most people make is trying to change everything at once. They set unrealistic expectations, expecting instant transformation. But discipline doesn't grow through extreme effort. It grows through consistent effort. Small actions repeated daily are far more powerful than big actions done occasionally. Waking up at the same time each day, completing a task you said you would, sticking to a simple routine, these are the building blocks. Over time, these small wins start to compound. What once felt hard becomes manageable. What once required effort becomes automatic. And slowly, your identity begins to change. You stop seeing yourself as someone who struggles with discipline and start seeing yourself as someone who follows through. It's also important to understand that discipline is not about perfection. You will have days where you fall short. You will miss routines, make mistakes, and feel off track. But discipline is not about never failing. It's about returning quickly. It's about not letting one bad moment turn into a bad habit. The stronger your discipline becomes, the faster you recover and realign. Environment also plays a crucial role. If you surround yourself with distractions, chaos, and easy temptations, discipline becomes harder. But if you create an environment that supports focus, clear goals, structured time, fewer distractions, you make discipline easier to practice. You are not just relying on willpower. You are designing your life in a way that supports your growth. Ultimately, discipline is a choice you make repeatedly. It's not about doing something extraordinary once. It's about doing the ordinary things extraordinarily well, again and again. It's choosing long-term growth over short-term comfort. It's deciding that who you are becoming matters more than how you feel right now. And the most important part is this: if discipline is a skill, then it is available to you. No matter where you are starting from, no matter how inconsistent you've been in the past, you can begin building it today. One action at a time, one decision at a time. Because every moment gives you a new opportunity to practice, and every practice makes you stronger. Many people are quick to label themselves as lazy. They say it casually, almost as if it's part of their identity. I'm just a lazy person. But this way of thinking creates a dangerous limitation. Because when you believe laziness is who you are, you stop looking for ways to change it. The truth is, laziness is not a character flaw. It is a result. It is the outcome of weak systems, unclear direction, and an environment that does not support action. When there is no structure in your day, your mind naturally drifts toward what is easy and comfortable. Without a plan, there is no urgency. Without clarity, there is no direction. And when you don't know exactly what needs to be done, your brain chooses the path of least resistance. That's when procrastination begins to feel normal and productivity starts to feel like effort. Laziness often appears when your goals are vague. Saying, I want to be successful, or I want to improve my life, sounds good, but it lacks clarity. What does success actually look like for you? What specific actions will move you forward today? When your goals are unclear, your actions become uncertain. And when your actions are uncertain, it becomes easier to delay them. Another major factor is the absence of a system. A system is simply a set of habits and routines that guide your daily behavior. Without it, every decision requires mental effort. You wake up and ask yourself, what should I do today? You sit down to work and wonder, where do I even start? This constant decision-making drains your energy, making you more likely to avoid action altogether. But when you have a system in place, you remove that friction. You don't rely on mood, you follow a structure. Environment also plays a powerful role. If you are surrounded by distractions, your phone constantly pulling your attention, cluttered spaces, noise, or people who don't value growth, it becomes much harder to stay focused. Laziness thrives in environments where comfort is always within reach. But when you intentionally design your surroundings to reduce distractions and encourage action, you make productivity more natural. Sometimes the problem is not your mindset, it's your environment. Energy is another piece often overlooked. When your body is tired, your mind follows. Poor sleep, lack of movement, and unhealthy routines can make even simple tasks feel overwhelming. In that state, what looks like laziness is actually exhaustion. When you take care of your physical energy by resting properly, eating better, and staying active, you increase your ability to act with consistency. It's also important to recognize that fear can disguise itself as laziness. Sometimes you avoid starting not because you don't want to work, but because you're afraid of failure, of not being good enough, or of stepping outside your comfort zone. Instead of confronting that fear, the mind chooses avoidance. It calls it laziness, but in reality, it's protection. Once you become aware of this, you can begin to address the real issue instead of judging yourself. The solution is not to criticize yourself, it is to build better systems. Start by creating clear, simple goals. Break them down into small, manageable action. Design a daily routine that removes unnecessary decision. Adjust your environment so it supports focus instead of distraction. And most importantly, commit to showing up consistently, even if your effort is not perfect. When your systems improve, your behavior naturally follows. Tasks become clearer, decisions become easier, and action becomes more automatic. Over time, what once felt like laziness begins to fade, not because you forced yourself to change, but because you removed the conditions that created it. This shift is powerful because it moves you from blame to responsibility. Instead of saying, I am the problem, you begin to ask, what in my system needs to change? And that question leads to growth. Once you understand this, everything changes. You stop fighting yourself and start building yourself. You stop labeling and start improving. And as your systems become stronger, laziness loses its place in your life. Not because you eliminated it directly, but because you replaced it with clarity, structure, and purpose. People often wait for motivation before they take action. They tell themselves, I'll start when I feel ready, or I just need the right mindset first. But what they don't realize is that motivation is unreliable. It rises and falls depending on your mood, your environment, even the time of day. Some days you feel energized and focused and everything seems possible. Other days, even the smallest task feels heavy. If your actions depend on how you feel, your progress will always be inconsistent. Motivation is emotional. Discipline is structural. Motivation can give you a push, but it cannot carry you through the long journey. It's like a spark. It can ignite something, but it cannot sustain the fire. Discipline, on the other hand, is what keeps that fire burning. It is the system you rely on when the excitement fades and the reality of effort sets in. The problem with relying on motivation is that it creates a cycle of highs and lows. When you feel motivated, you take action. You work hard, you feel productive, and you make progress. But when that feeling disappears, and it always does, you slow down or stop completely. Then you wait again, hoping for motivation to return. This cycle keeps you stuck because your progress is not steady, it's temporary. Consistency is what breaks this cycle. Consistency means showing up whether you feel like it or not. It means doing the work on days when you are inspired and, more importantly, on days when you are not. Because those are the days that truly shape you. Anyone can perform when they feel good. But growth happens when you perform despite not feeling good. This is where discipline becomes powerful. Discipline removes the need to negotiate with your emotions. Instead of asking, do I feel like doing this? You ask, is this what I said I would do? And if the answer is yes, you act. Not because it's easy, but because it's aligned with your commitment. Over time, this creates a shift in identity. You stop being someone who acts based on mood and become someone who acts based on standards. And standards are far more stable than feelings. They don't change depending on your energy or your environment. They remain constant, guiding your behavior every day. Another important truth is that consistency builds momentum. When you take action daily, even in small amounts, you create a rhythm. That rhythm makes it easier to continue. Missing one day might not seem like much, but it disrupts that flow. And once the flow is broken, it becomes easier to skip again. But when you stay consistent, you reduce resistance. The action becomes part of your routine, something you do without overthinking. It's also important to understand that consistency does not mean perfection. You don't have to perform at your best every single day. Some days your effort will be strong, and other days it will be minimal. What matters is that you don't stop. Even a small step forward keeps the habit alive. Even a little progress maintains the momentum. Think of it like building a foundation. Each day you show up, you add another layer. It may not look impressive at first, and the progress may feel slow. But over time, those layers create something solid, something reliable. And once that foundation is strong, everything else becomes easier to build. Motivation might help you start, but it is consistency that helps you finish. It is consistency that transforms effort into results. It is consistency that turns actions into habits and habits into identity. So instead of waiting to feel ready, decide to be consistent. Decide that your actions will not depend on your mood. Decide that you will show up no matter what. Because when you do, you take control of your progress. You stop reacting to your emotions and start directing your life. And that is where real power begins. When you step back and look at it all together, a clear truth begins to emerge. Discipline is not something reserved for a select few. It is a skill that can be built. Laziness is not who you are. It is simply the result of systems that are not yet working for you. And motivation, while helpful in moments, is not strong enough to carry you where you truly want to go. What matters most is consistency, the ability to show up again and again, regardless of how you feel. This is where real transformation happens. The moment you stop waiting for the perfect mood and start relying on structured action, everything begins to change. You take control of your time, your habits, and ultimately your direction in life. Instead of reacting to comfort, you begin responding to purpose. Instead of avoiding effort, you begin to embrace it as part of your growth. And over time, something powerful takes place. The actions that once felt difficult become normal. The resistance that once held you back begins to fade. You no longer argue with yourself about whether to start, you simply begin. That is the moment discipline has taken root. Laziness doesn't disappear because you fight it directly. It disappears because you replace it with clarity, with structure, and with consistent action. You build a system that makes progress inevitable. You create standards that guide your behavior even on your worst days. And as this continues, your identity shifts. You no longer see yourself as someone who struggles to stay focused or committed. You become someone who follows through, someone who shows up, someone who can be trusted, especially by yourself. In the end, this is not just about getting more done. It's about becoming more. It's about shaping a version of yourself that is stronger, more reliable, and more in control. A version that doesn't depend on fleeting emotions but stands firmly on disciplined habits. So the path forward is simple but not easy. Build the skill, strengthen the system, stay consistent. Do that long enough and you won't have to chase success anymore because you will have built the kind of person success naturally follows.